There is such a battery, it's dead. Dead somewhere like that, completely dead. Resistance is not resistance, it is the capacity of it. 11 milliampere-hours measured. Well, I'm planning to make something good out of it. To begin with, there is an upper cover. It would have to be carefully removed. If you drink it carefully, it's already good to remove it. Already saved. Under it there are these jars, corks, you see. Actually, you can top up the water here. By the way, before I gouge the battery, I'm going to try to top it up here. Top up. Everything hisses here. Or I won't try to top it up, but you can try. By the way, this is BB, the batteries differ. They have such an opportunity to top up distilled water here. The lid is holding on to something here. Here. Well, somehow it's ultrasound welded with something else. That is, it will be possible to put it back, but this. In principle, at first I had the idea to remove all this from the core. That is, this is all the fear of the studio, and put their 18650th batteries with a BMS board. Well, for a complete one, I will first fill it with distilled water. I will check what will come out of it. There's nothing there. Apparently there can't be any water. Will it help or not? It's even interesting somehow. Well, at the moment there's just nothing here. Well, I'm closing it like that, because in fact here I already know that there is nothing, but of course, there is no need to repeat it like that, because you can burn your knife. But in fact, here you see there are 10 volts, somewhere 10 as many as 7/10. Therefore, yes, it is necessary to do this carefully. Don't repeat everything you see on the internet. Because you can still have children, let's say. Here. And if you repeat this, everything I do may not be. So don't make anyone happy. So okay, I'm going to look for something to pour. So I found this jar of distilled water in the workshop. Now I'm going to try to climb it with the help of a device called tweezers. Tweezers. My God, what kind of tweezers? A syringe here in it all. I wonder how much you can put this water here. Let's try it like this a little bit at a time. So. One syringe in the first 3, 1, 2, somewhere here. It's gone somewhere here. 2, 4, about 1.5 milliliters I have already filled. I fill it up again. It doesn't fit anymore. I poured another 1.5 millimeters. Here's another 1, 2. Well, along the way he is generally. This is the third time I fill it in. That is, there is probably no need to pour here, there is already a complete set. Here he comes in as may will be, and comes in. All right. We'll pump out the water and pour it in here. That is, it is dry just this battery. That it's dry. The water is going there. And how many of her will go there is interesting. Immediately there is a desire to check. Interesting. It seems that it has dried up altogether. In theory, the water should not go there like that, but how to think? Nothing pours out. Very interesting truth. I also filled it in there. Oops, this is unnecessary. So, that is, I filled one jar to the top. So, I filled it up again. I will fill in as much as possible. In other words, you can and should not do so. I filled this one up again. As much as it took. Well, I'm sure that they will write to me in the comments how wrong I am. That is, I will take all the excess, and will top up these cans until it fits. That's good, it climbs out like that. Look, I'm already the sixth. I thought the third one was pouring in. And there you can pour. It would be a lot to fill in. Just a lot of water coming in. This is too much. This is the water running away. That's how I still pour. The plague. How many more of her will go there? After that, I'll put everything here already. I'll put it a little bit of hers. I'll try to stuff what's left into the banks. Well, they won't climb already. Corny does not climb. Well, I probably don't know about milliliters offhand, so look here. Well, somewhere so 1 division, somewhere maybe 100, even I'm not sure about 100, well, maybe 100 milliliters went. I put these corks in place. So I'll try to charge this whole thing. Here I will infect here, probably with a device not specially designed for this, that is, with a laboratory power supply. So I turn on the power supply. Here is the first inclusion. You need to make sure that the terminals are connected. This battery will turn on anyway. Well, I'm setting up charging here. Here it appears like this. The current is 3 amperes, but it's a lot. Probably 2 or even 1 ampere to put. Voltage 8. The voltage seems to be 14 should be set, I think so. Here are 14. Well, here are 14 and 4, that is, well, usually in a car battery 14 and 1 is the average voltage as far as I remember. That is, from 13.7 to 14.5, somewhere like that. Well, 14 and 1, well, maybe it's okay. 14.4 may be okay, maybe even 14.5 put on for a while. This power supply unit is reading 6010 like this panel. It allows you to limit it here, do all sorts of different things. Well, and see how much of this power was flooded there. At the moment it is charging, you see how. I'll turn it off and take a look. You see the voltage drops gradually after. That is, I leave it to charge, and then I discharge it. I have a special device for discharging, and I will see how much capacity there is. Well, if the capacity here is less than probably 2.5 ampere hours, then I'm going to destroy it and make a lithium-ion battery out of it. So, I temporarily stopped the experiment as traffic jams began to shoot. Here. They shot so well. Thank God, I found all 6 of them in the ass. And now I will see the water began to pour out, that is, the electrolyte. That is, there is some kind of process going on inside the battery. What's the question? Either its final destruction, or some process leading to the restoration of the capacity. I don't know. I'm putting this case on charge again. Right now it's going somewhere 0.33 amperes. Charging 14.5 volts. Here. I'll probably limit the current a little bit. Here again, 1 ampere current went. Turning it off. That's the current. I'm going to put it on a little bit now, not 1 ampere, but a little less. That's probably 0.4 amperes. And I'll see how much there will be a bubbling of all this battery. It was hopeless, after all. Hopeless or wrong of me. Here, put it on 1 ampere at once, close it with plugs. Probably, after all, lead batteries are properly plugged, or lead is condensed. I do not know how to call it correctly. Do not close it. And maybe even 0.4 amps will be too much. Well, I'll put 0.3, okay, God be with him. That is, 0.3 amps. There's some bubbling going on in the batteries already. So far so. So, that's what's going on. There is some kind of selection going on here. As here are all sorts of illiterate Ukrainian publications report that hydrogen is released there. Your house will blow up. Well, it is necessary to ventilate the room where your batteries are being charged, everything will be fine. Do you understand? And if you put it under the hood, this battery, you are still making some kind of housing for him. There are people I know who make these fiberglass blocks for windows and put a battery in there. See, I'm like that. A miracle. Well, of course you can have it and jerk. Here. Now there is charging going on. I've been pouring this water back and forth a little bit. 0.3 amps. There is a seething, so that you understand. I don't know if this sound is audible. I turned off the charging now. There was less bubbling. I put on 0.3 amperes, well, let it charge. Here, with the shutdown, the voltage from 12.9 now drops to 12. Well, let's see what happens in a couple of hours, because it's too early to say it right away, to draw conclusions. Jerking off, even with 0.3 amperes, the bubbling continues. I do not know if this is normal, most likely not, so I will put less of it now. This current. Here I put it now 0.2 amperes. I hope it will become less this seething. So after that, after a couple of hours of charging, I'll see if I manage to achieve something. Well, a little less, but boiling 0.2 amperes. Well, this probably means that the batteries are already quarantined, but I don't know, but what if? It's interesting. It was charging for a while. Who has an hour and a half? Now I will show you what is on the power supply, and I will put it on the discharge. Here's what's on the power supply. When you turn it off, you see the voltage drops sharply. I will bet on the category right away. Watch what comes out. The discharge apparatus I have is due 24. Here he is, you see, the ruins of all the terminals he has, of course. It's working so far. It is necessary to change the terminal, of course, everything. You can't do anything, but it works like that. The current here is 7 amperes worth of discharge. Here. Well, I put it right on discharge to see what will happen at 7 amps. you see, it instantly drops to 0. If we put a discharge current, say 2 amperes, what will happen? Well, 2 amps, you see, he holds this battery a little bit. He stands it. I don't know how much it will be visible. Here. Unfortunately, it's reflected here. I know it's reflected here when shooting this device. Well, at 2 amperes, you see, it holds some time here will even be given probably about 50, maybe 100 milliampere hours. Well, it's still an insignificant capacity, of course, but it's understandable. Therefore, most likely the battery will be scrapped. Well, he has to work at 7 amps, you know. Here I repeat the experience once again. Here I put 7 amps, turn it on, it immediately drops below 0. Here. If you put, say, 4 amperes. Well, it doesn't hold 4 amps either. Here. If you put 2. It holds 2 amperes, it works. That is, 10.5 volts. Well, you can, in principle, try to infect it for a few hours. Here. Then dilute it by 2 amperes. Well, it seems to me that this is a bit of an application. Well, in principle, you can put a router firm it in this form, firm such a battery in this condition. That is, it will work quite well. But something more serious than a router or PR, put all the heads. The uninterruptible power supply is not worth it. Well, let them. It bursts out at 2 amperes. Let's see what kind of capacity it turns out, so to speak. So, after charging and discharging, it turned out that about half an hour in this battery. Therefore, in order to have accurate results, I will once again put this on charge now. I'll put it on for a longer time. As it has already become clear, it became necessary to put somewhere 0 to amperes. So I'm going to set 2 amps to 0 with a cutoff of 14 and 5. Well, 14.5 cutoff, you see, and 0.2 amperes. And so that it gets infected around 10 o'clock. But I wonder what the capacity will be after such a long charge. It's been a few hours since I put the battery on charge. I'm going to turn it off now. You can see how the voltage level began to drop sharply. Well, I'll put it on the category. So, I will put the discharge level now at 2 amperes. I'm clearing the counter. Well, it can be seen that it turns off immediately. The machine is discharged, that is, the battery does not hold a current of 2 amperes. Here we look at how he holds 1 ampere. Also, the current of 1 ampere does not hold. It becomes clear that this battery can only be used for disassembly, for reworking it into lithium-ion assembly. Here. Many thanks to everyone who watched my channel, and see you soon.